This is Jewish Astrology, Cosmic Science, the book written by Rabbi Yaakov Kronenberg. Rabbi Kronenberg is an American guy who's been living in Israel for many years, raises children in Israel. And he's a really, really great scholar. This book contains all the things that he wanted to try to convey. What is the difference between astrology and Jewish astrology? Is there such a difference? Does that exist? Let's go a little bit more deeply, because in the section that we're learning now, excuse my voice, it's a little cloudy today. We're getting really into the inside of secret wisdoms, but it's not for everybody. But if people really want to know what makes the world turn, how the world turns, how your life turns, how everything is constantly changing in the world according to pattern. So these are some fundamental ideas that Rabbi Yaakov is teaching us here in his analysis of the book Sefer HaYetzirah. Let me get up over here. So he says, he wanted to say, so in the last sphere he mentioned, we'll go over it really quickly so we get some, there we go. So we have spheros, we have the 10 spheros, and he mentioned them. The first sphere is Keser, Chochmah, Bina, Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferes, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, and Malchus. Those are the lower 7 spheros. We talked about that before. Then he said, he taught us that the 10 spheros become 5 Partzufim. Its 10 becomes 5, because they make combinations in different kinds of ways. Now, what is a Partzuf? A Partzuf is really mean face, but actually a Partzuf is a system for refracting the light of the Ein Sof Baruch Hu, which is not a light that can stand in this world, because the light in its pure form is a light of nothing, and everything that it touches, that would touch it, would be non-physical. That's what would happen to us, and that is a little glimpse what happens to the human body. But there are 10 spheros, they become 5 Partzufim. Then he says, now we're coming over here, and he goes through some different languages which we need to know. Is that one of the spheros, which is called, well, let's see this right here. The Keter, which is the crown, which is also known as Atik Yomim, which is ancient of days, and also Erik Anpin, or the long face, which is mean the long light process, the entire process. Keter, so is Atik Yomim. We said that Chochmah refers to Abba, or the father, and Bina is Ima, is the mother. The 6 spheros, which are called Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferes, Netzach, Hod, and Yesod, they make up another Partzuf, which is called Zer Anpin. And then there's Malchus, which is the Nukva, or the opening, which is another word for Nekeva, is Nukva. And these two go together. And we'll see what he's going to say now. So he says, Havayah, the Sefirot, and the Partzufim, the faces. So how does this work out? The God name of Havayah has 4 letters. And these 4 letters also represent all the Sefiros and all the Partzufim. So how is it that you have 10 Sefiros, 5 Partzufim, and they all come out in 4 letters? This is a very common thing. Now understand, Hebrew reads from right to the left, right? So the first letter is the letter Yud. The next letter is Hey, Vav, K. That is the name of God. So let's look at the letter Yud. See that Yud really is a letter that can be broken up into different parts. Basically, the Yud and the Yud K Vav K, it means Chochmah, but it also refers to Keser, which is inside of it, which is a light, a refracted light that's inside of Chochmah. Chochmah then which is called also Abba, or Atik and Arich. So there you see these Partzufim here mentioned here. So the Hey refers to Bina, which is Ima. So the Yud is inside of the Hey, we'll go like that. And then the next letter is the Vav. So the Yud and the Hey are inside of the letter Vav. So letter Vav is actually the number 6 in Hebrew. So he says it's Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferes, and that's a Hod and Yesod. Those are 6 different spheros which are all combined in that, and this is called Zer Anpin, which is the small face, but it's the name of the Partzuf. And then the final Hey, which all of these other letters are inside of the final Hey, is called Malchus, also known as the Nukva, which is the whole. That's what he said before, or he liked the word opening. It's not better. Also, the male and female aspect is represented by Yud, which is male in Abba, and Hey, which is female in Ima, forming a pair. So, and the Vav, male, known as the son, pairs off with the final Hey, female, known as the daughter. As you can see, Keter is included in the Yud. So sometimes there is a tip with Chochmah and Abba. And this is represented by the tip of the Yud. The Yud has a little tip at the top of it. That tip is direct as to the fact that there is something that is not visible, that is beyond us, and only makes itself slightly visible down here below with the rest of the Yud, which has a little curve at the top. Just as Kesser is so high up so that the curve at the top of the Yud is a hint, the inclusion of the shorsh, that is the root, the source, and is considered a world into itself. So we only talk about Abba Ve'ima, so he wants to say, so therefore, since this is a world into itself, meaning it's beyond our ability to understand or to reach, but just showing it's the smallest part of itself that is inside. You could say that the Yud isn't kind of the Hey, you could say that the tip of the Yud is inside of the rest of the Yud. So he says, and so we also talk about Abba Ve'ima, Zer Anpin, and Malchus. It is written in the Torah, everything you made with wisdom, Chochmah. God made everything with Chochmah, because Keter is really above creation. So everything actually starts with Chochmah. So there's this Hebrew expression, that's the word, it's a Reishis Chochmah. The beginning of everything is Chochmah. Now, if we do the way that I was saying before, and you look at all of these things one inside the next, then you will see that, and you understand that the tip of the Yud is only partially visible. In other words, there is a nothing behind it that we cannot envision. This is what he's saying. He says, so that's also inside of all of this. So inside of this letter, so then there's different parts of these letters. All the letters can be divided into different parts and understood individually as a pathway to God. So God made everything with Chochmah because Keter is really above creation. So everything actually starts with Chochmah. This is why the Torah starts with the letter Bet. Why? In order that is Bereshis, if you know a little bit of Hebrew, so Bereshis is Bereshis. The Bet, the letter B, is the first letter. In order to show you that everything eventually starts with the second sphera, which is Chochmah, or wisdom. Now, this is a little bit of Kabbalistic wisdom that Rabbi Yaakov is teaching us. It says like this, energy flow of the Partzufim. Let us include Kesser in the count. So let's say, and in this instant, that there are 6 Partzufim. Now, this is a piece of Torah that I'm not familiar with. But when I learned with Rabbi Yaakov, he used to say this all the time. There's really 12 different pieces, 6 Partzufim. So he says that they are what? Atik, Arich, that's 2. Abba, Ima, that's 4. Zer Anpin, and Nukva, Nuk. So he says Atik and Arich are really 2 different aspects of what is beyond the most core element of reality. And they're 2 different parts, he says. The difference between them is that the higher up you are in the worlds. Now, remember, the worlds mean the hidden fracturing of light, of the light of God. Because the word world in Hebrew is the word olam, which olam comes from the root of the word helem, which means hidden. So when we say the worlds, we mean that which is hidden beyond us. the more unity there is between the male and the female sides. And the lower you come down, the less the unity between male and female. For example, Atik, which is the highest Partzuf, has such a unity. There is no distinction between the male and the female. Now understand like this. We live in a world which is called the Olam, that is the hidden world of Parud, separations. So separations means opposites. So there are constant opposites in this world. Black and white, male and female, up and down, left and right. All different kinds. This is our world. Our world is a world of a balance scale. But in the highest world, there is only unity. And that's what he said. Atik, which was the highest parts of it, has such a unity that there is no distinction between the male and the female. The one is submerged beside the other. When you get down to the parts of Rik, though, it also has a very, very high level, a level of complete spirituality, of unity, and there are no separate entities in there. But there is the distinction between male and female, which is the right side and the left side, because now, once again, you have another set of opposites, right and left. And the female is another word for the left side. With Abba and Ima, the Zohar tells us that Abba and Ima are always stuck together. They ride together always. Abba and Ima are always riding together, and yet they are two separate, distinct Partzufim, one male, one female. They are two separate faces, which are stuck together and are always face to face. So you see that as we go down, there is more of a split and separation between the male and the female. Like us, we're completely separate. And when you get down to Zeranpen and Nuk, which is the lowest level, there you see that sometimes they're together, but then on the other hand, that sometimes they're separate. In other words, sometimes they face each other, they stand face to face, and sometimes they're back to back with no real connection. Now, this is Baruch Fleischman. This is a Tikkun Elevator Kollel. Make this digestible shiurim on something that is really basic Kabbalah that Reb Yaakov is teaching us. This is a master Kabbalist. So, but he will want to tell you the first thing, wants to tell you he's not a Kabbalist. He's an astrologer. And we're learning Jewish astrology with Reb Yaakov Kronenberg.